have another dog, it's not replacing that dog. It's just finding a new place for your love to go. All that love and all that nurturing you have, it's got a place for it to go. So that is what helps me.
You're listening to the Soul Touched by Dogs podcast, the show for dog lovers who see dogs not as toys or tools, but wise souls worth our respect and care. I'm Anke Herman, and I'm your host.
Hello and welcome, Peggy. I'm very happy to have you here this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to be here with you.
So let people know where in this lovely world you're based, and as always, what's your business with dogs?
Well, I'm in the United States in upstate New York. So I'm not near the city, but in near the Adirondack Mountains, and it's beautiful country up here. We're near Saratoga, which is horse country. And I grew up in Vermont, which is where my heart is. I love Vermont. It's the Green Mountain State. It's very, very beautiful and a lot of farmland. And my business with dogs is I write books about dogs. I started writing, and I still do for more than 20 years. I've been writing for an inspirational magazine called Guidepost Magazine. And as I worked writing for them, I wanted to write about what inspired me the most, and that was my dogs. So uh, we have we have we rescue senior golden retrievers, and right now we have three. I have Pete, who's about 9, and then we have Sophie, who's 13, and she was a breeding dog in a puppy mill for 10 years. And then a group rescued her and we got her, and now she's a therapy dog. So she has a big yard to run around in, a big happy life now. And just about 10 months ago, we rescued he's not quite a senior, he might be about 5, but he was a dog in need. He was being kept with 54 golden retrievers in a trailer, and wasn't the best conditions. So they uh, got the dogs out of there, and they all have happy homes now. And we named him Augie. We're we're hoping he might be a therapy dog, if that seems to be what works for him. So I write about my dogs a lot, and I write about how people love dogs and dogs love people.
I love it. I love it. So basically, you were a writer by profession and thought, like, why not write about what lights me up? I love that. So
Yeah.
how do you like? Let me ask you something about that because I've written a chapter in a book about one of my dogs, and I found it quite difficult to write about this dog that meant the world to me in a way that it means something to other people, right? So how do you come up with the topics for the books, or and how do you craft those stories around it?
Well, right, you're right. Our own story about our own dog isn't as fascinating to other people as it is to us. And so what I try to do is write about themes or topics that are helpful to other people or inspiring to other people. I just have a story about our the dog we lost last year. He was 16, a golden retriever, which is very old for a golden, and we named him Ernest. And wrote about near the end, I wrote his bucket list and wanted to do all the things on the bucket list. And of course, as I'm trying to do all these things, they're not everything is working out the way I'd hoped, or I'm not able to do everything I wanted. And of course, in the end, I just learned that really what Ernie wanted the most was just love. So I thought that was a universal feeling that we could all, we try to give them everything, we try to do everything for them and um, help them as much as we could, but they just want to be with us.
Yeah, I can definitely sign that when I look at mine. Um,
Right.
so are the books more like fiction, or how do how do you wrap them?
Um, all my books so far are nonfiction. I do hope to write fiction in the future. I enjoy reading fiction, and all my fiction books will have dogs because that's just what I like to write about. Um, the last book before this actually wasn't about dogs, but it was about a woman I met who has a group of miniature therapy horses, and she takes the horses all across the country. They go to where there've been hurricanes or floods or wildfires, natural disasters, and also school shootings and different really difficult situations. She goes into uh, the hospitals where there's pediatric oncology and, the very most devastating situations. And the thing I liked about her when I met her, her organization is called Gentle Carousel, is she trains the horses for 2 years before she takes them out. She takes great care in making sure the horses not only have a good life, a great life, a natural life, but when they're working, they're safe and they're well cared for. So, and they're helping people. I think I'm mostly interested in how dogs help people and how people help dogs. So
Yeah.
that I look for the inspiring stories and try to tell other people's stories, what they're doing and how they're helping.
I love that. It's kind of like this podcast. That's what I'm
Yeah,
doing here, right?
yeah.
So, and that's why you're here. So, you mentioned before, like two of your dogs, you mentioned like service that they are a service dog or might become a service dog. So, how would you like what gives you the idea that okay, this dog and the one who's been in the puppy mill, so it's not that she grew up and I had somebody recently on the show who was in a wheelchair, right? And so these service dogs they basically get chosen when they're puppies and then they get trained, right? So, and they kind of, everybody knows right from the beginning that unless something goes pear-shaped here, this dog's going to be a service dog. So if you have a dog that comes to you after years in a puppy mill, right? So how do you know which one is suitable for a service dog? And then what do you do?
It's a great question. And just to be clear, I do therapy dog work with them, so that's a little different. As you say, a service dog, they're often raised from a puppy. They're trained to help that person with a disability or a situation. With the therapy dogs, we train them to not to help us, but to help other people, to go out and to give comfort and love and attention to others. So with Sophie, the puppy mill dog, um, when we got her, she had been in a cage for 10 years, and when we got her, she just wanted us to pat her all the time. She just couldn't get enough. And that's how I got the idea with her. I said, I know what she can do where she can get patted all the time because that's what the therapy dogs do. We take her to schools, elementary schools, colleges love having the therapy dogs visit. The kids are lonely for home. They miss their own dogs. They're stressed by exam time, and they they can't get enough. They all the kids come and pat her and pat her and pat her, and she gets all the pats she could ever want. So
Oh,
she
she'll be happy then.
she is. I mean, she's it's just the perfect thing. Now with Augie, the one who was kept in the trailer, he is a little hand shy right now. He's a little afraid of people because of his situation. He's doing really well in some basic obedience training, but will he want to be around people all the time, being patted? I'm not sure. And if he doesn't, then that's not his thing. And Pete, our other dog, flunked his therapy dog test twice. So it was not his thing. He could do everything, but he just wanted to, you know, bark and play with the other dogs and bark at them, and he just couldn't control himself around the other dogs. So it wasn't a good fit for him.
So
So
what
he's
is
our
asked of
dog
a
vet.
therapist? I mean, in those exams, what's asked of a dog?
Mainly it's temperament. They want a dog who is calm but not shy. They want a dog who's friendly but not overexcited. So if you have a dog with the right temperament, then they're going to make a good therapy dog. You want a dog who, um, some of the tests we will have the dogs on a down and a stay, and they'll have a child come through playing with a ball and being all excited, bouncing a ball. Dog can notice it, they're going to notice it, but they can't get up and chase the child and play with the ball. You know, they
That's a tough
funniest
test.
one is it can be tough. The funniest one is they put a piece of delicious cheese on the ground, and we have to take our dog on the leash and walk past it, and the dog can't eat it. So you have to train them to leave it. And that one's always funny because some, especially Goldens, which we have, are pretty food motivated.
There's this funny video. Have you ever seen this? Where there's like a competition and they have to go, the dog has to go like from one place to
He
another,
beats
like a
them all.
straight line. And they like the Malinois is just going like straight, and then the Golden is going and
Golden
gobbling
is
everything.
that's pretty much my life.
Because I'm just thinking about my own. I'm thinking, well, I have one who probably would struggle, will walk past, the other one probably wouldn't care. So
Right.
it's, yeah, but then the other one is also really big. Do you find like bigger dogs are, you know, is there some sort of relationship between like size and temperament? Because like mine is like a Spanish Mastiff. She's kind of 120 pounds or more. Like she's a big chunky dog. Good as gold, but she can
Yes.
knock a kid over just by walking past, right? So
Yeah,
I'm
right.
not sure.
I haven't noticed a connection between size. There are a lot of golden retriever therapy dogs. There also are some small dogs and some Bernese mountain dogs who have a very lovely temperament. But there are some smaller dogs too, which is really nice because some kids are afraid of big dogs, or some adults. Some people are more attracted to smaller dogs than big dogs, and they can hold it in their lap, whereas you can't really do that with bigger dogs. So it's nice when we go. We usually go to an event with about 5 or 6 dogs, and kids will go from one to another, and you notice some are just more drawn to certain dogs.
Mm. So the dogs, I mean, say you've got three now. If you say like you go with five, so who are the other dogs? Like where did they come from?
Well, so to be a therapy dog, a certified therapy dog, you have to pass a test. There's a few different organizations that offer the certification, and the judge will judge you. Did your dog stay down for 5 minutes or whatever, and all the skills. Um, yeah, he has to be comfortable with someone else handling him, and and then you get your certification. And then we belong to a big local organization where when somebody has a need, they'll put it out, and then different dogs will respond if they're available to go and participate.
Okay, so how and I find that so fascinating. So it's almost like a comfort, on call, right? So who would decide to call you in? Is that like something that's scheduled, or is that like a first responder kind of situation, or how would that normally work?
There's a coordinator, Patty, for our group, and every group will have a coordinator. People will send in their requests. Um, and we would like a therapy dog to visit our wellness day, or sometimes we're near the state capital of Albany, and sometimes the tax department will be stressed and they'll ask for dogs to come visit, or the budget department, whatever. And we've gone to schools. There was a teacher who had passed away in class, and they brought the therapy dogs in. Some go to a courtroom and help the child's testifying, help comfort the child. We'll go, like, we go to the library once a month, and either we have first, second grade kids will read to Sophie, and she loves that. And it helps them because they're not being judged, and they're just somebody's listening who's just listening, sort of. And we also work with developmentally disabled adults, and they love to pat the dogs in the library program. I mean, there's so many ways that the therapy dogs can be used.
I love that. So is this all volunteer work, or do you get compensated at least like for your time, or like at least the dog gets a
No,
treat, or like how does that work?
it's all volunteer, and it's just people who have a heart for allowing their dogs to use their gifts to help other people. And they, they as far as food and treats, they're not allowed to accept them from people just because you don't want them to eat something that's not good for them. Sometimes at a hospital, you don't want a patient to maybe give them a pill or something they shouldn't have.
Yeah,
And
well, that
that's
makes
also
sense.
why they eat things that have been dropped on the floor, just in case it's not good for them.
Oh, yeah, that makes total. Actually, it's so true. Like that's one of the things. Like I'm not like super strict with mine, but don't eat off the ground when we're in the street is like,
Oh,
yep, like you never know
I mean,
who puts
get
stuff
a
out.
bone
And
or something
yeah,
bad, right?
yeah, for sure. For sure. So do you get inspiration for your books from those you know,
Yeah,
situations or those stories that you live when you're out with the dogs? Do they like those kind of experiences feed each other?
absolutely. And everything that the dogs do, and I also have two rescue guinea pigs. Everything that my pets do and animals in nature um, can be an inspiration in some way. I've been watching the birds, fledging the nest and different things, and it's all inspiring to me. And one of the books I write for is All God's Creatures, daily devotions for animal lovers. And so it's just full of ways that animals inspire us. But in the book that it's coming out July 7th, Goodbye to a Good Dog, because we rescue senior golden retrievers, we lose more than the most people might lose over time. So as we decided this was what we sort of felt like we were called to do, what was our mission, sort of, to rescue these old dogs. I realized I was going to have to figure out a way to be okay with losing them and a way to deal with all the loss. There was a time early on where I said, "No, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna get a puppy. I can't do this." And when we had the opportunity, and when it came right down to it, we just said, we want to rescue the seniors. They need actually the first time we did was an 11-year-old golden retriever who had been, I guess he'd been dumped because he was old and maybe sick and not fun anymore. And he'd been shuffled around to shelters, and my husband saw his picture with the rescue group, and he's like, "Got this one, I want this one." I'm like, "He's 11, Mike, he's going to break our hearts." And we went to visit him, and I wasn't 100% on board, and my husband just said, "But he needs us." And I said, "Okay." And that's how it all started. And we named him Brooks. And so we've named our little, we call it a retirement home for golden retrievers. It's just, three dogs or so at a time because we want to have the resources to care for them properly. So we named it Brooks Haven after our first impulse.
Oh, I
And,
love that.
he did, it's so nice. And he did break our hearts. He died of cancer less than a year after we got it. But we always say it was the best year, and that's why we do it. And so I wrote the book about dealing with grief of losing the dogs because, I've had to go through it, and I know how hard it is, and people struggle with it, and I wanted to help share ways that they could not get over it, because you don't get over it, but get through it, come out the other end, and be able to just move on in a different way, to be able to feel. My bottom line really is that, it's hard to lose a dog, but the going through the grief is worth having had the dog.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Do you find well, I've actually starting with my parents, right? A lot of people say, well, this pain of losing a dog was so bad, like I'm not going to have another dog. Like I've never felt that. I've never
Yes.
felt that having another dog. I was actually glad I had another dog when my first one passed, but I've always felt that it it kind of doesn't take away from the relationship I have with another dog. So it's not replacing or anything. What would you say to somebody who feels that it's kind of too much to bear to have another dog? Because I've heard this quite a lot.
I hear that quite a bit too, and I interviewed a lot of people for the book and told a lot of people stories. Um, and not everyone, for me, I'm like you. If you have another dog, it's not replacing that dog. It's just finding a new place for your love to go. It's it's your all that love and all that nurturing you have is now it's got a place for it to go. So uh, so that is what helps me. Not everyone can do it, and I say find to those people find a way um, that you can channel that. You loved a dog before. Um, some people, one person in the book said that she couldn't do it again. Um, so she started like a boarding daycare type of a place.
Okay.
And because she had a dog at home and he was lonely, so that was her way of, and it helps other people, and it still helped fulfill that hole she had and that need to be around animals. Some people, I say, go to the shelter and help walk the dogs or find a way to be involved. And another person babysits, dog sits. So you can still do it. And when maybe the time just isn't right, maybe it will be later. But it was, it's. I think it's the best thing is to be able to have another one. Some people they want a dog that's exactly the same breed, same color, same everything. And I spoke to other people who said I want everything as far opposite as I can get. Different size, a different, gender, a different color, everything. So, everyone's different on that,
Yeah.
and I can't ever say you're wrong not to have another dog. But for me, I think it always helps,
Yeah.
especially rescuing dogs, because you know that when I lose a dog, I'm able to have a place to help another one.
Yeah, I mean that makes perfect. And you're totally right. It's everybody needs to find what works for them. Like so it's not about to
Right.
say, oh, you need to have another dog. But I love the idea of having a doggy daycare or actually a friend of mine, like she fosters, I mean she fosters cats, but it's that same thing. Like she kind of wants the company, but she also wants to have the flexibility of traveling. So I guess everybody just need to find what works for you, right?
There's so much need for fostering, and it's a hard thing to do, but it's so needed. So it's a great
Yeah.
option.
And I don't know, like I've had guests around that topic, and I'm always like, I don't know how you do it, like emotionally, because if a dog passes, that's still one thing, that's the grief. I can deal with that, right? But to kind of
Mm.
give a dog away and kind of almost, I don't know, like I personally struggle with that, this kind of feeling like I don't want that dog to think I let him down, right? So,
Right.
so, but I mean, I've spoken to people who foster dogs a lot, and they don't see it like that, right? They have a much more helpful way of looking at it.
Well, I know they get to the point sometimes too where there's a little burnout and sometimes they need a break because it is hard. And of course, all the foster fails you read about where they end up keeping the dog, which is great. And actually, my next book is going to be about rescue because I think there's not only is there so much we can learn about how rescue works and why it's so important, but I'm fascinated with how what rescue dogs can teach us about forgiveness, about courage, about adapting. So I'm going to be looking into that.
Mm. Oh, I'm gonna have to have you back for that one when that
I
one's
hope
coming
so.
out. So do you
Yeah.
wanna do you wanna just kind of share again the title of your the book that's about to come out? Like you're pumping them out, you
Yep.
know.
Uh, It's called Goodbye to a Good Dog, and it's just help for the grief, but it's not a book about sadness, even though the topic's very heavy. It's about the relationship, it's about the love, and it's about how to find ways to go on. And at the end of each chapter, I have interviewed a different person who tells their personal story about um, how they found unique ways to handle the grief and to honor the dog and memorialize the dog. One person, they like to hike with the dog, and they hiked, and the dog loved to swim. So after the dog passed, he would take the dog's tags, and I think she attached him to the backpack, and they'd sort of jingle as she walked, like the dog's collar would jingle on the tags. And then when they got to the water, she would always dip the tags in the water in honor of the dog. And it was just a little custom that helped her. And another woman wrote about he saved her dog's fur and had it spun and knitted into a little blanket that she
Oh,
could pat put on her lap. I just thought I'd never heard of anyone doing that before.
I've
So
I've seen this. I remember years ago I found a website where somebody was yeah, doing that, and knitting, and I did some felting actually.
yeah,
Like, I mixed
um,
it with other wool, and yeah,
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
there's loads you can
So
do.
so it's the book is available for pre-order now, and it's going to be released on July 7th, and we're just so excited. I hope that it'll help many people and you know, go into the hands of people who are feeling sad and feeling lost and be able to help them through that difficult time.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, and we're gonna pop the link to the book and all your links. So where can people go find that? Like, just you say it. Like, where's the easiest place to get in touch with you?
Um, you can go to my website, which is peggyfrezon.com, Peggyf as in Frank, Rezon.com. And there you can find all the information you need, and also you can get my little ebook, which is what we learn from dogs for free if you sign up there for the newsletter, which in the newsletter you'll also learn all about Pete and Sophie and Augie. So that's a lot of
Awesome.
fun to see what they're up to. Um, and I just, yeah, so I appreciate it. And books on Amazon or wherever books are sold.
Well, thank you so much, and yeah, definitely let me know when the next book's out, and I'd love to have you back. Well, thank
I
you for
will.
this
Thank
time.
you so much for everything. It was wonderful to meet you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review so other dog lovers can find the show. Head over to soultouchedbydogs.com and sign up for the weekly treat. Tips, recommendations, and personal stories to warm your dog-loving heart. And if you know a awesome human you think I should interview, I'd love an introduction. Email me at Anke, that's ANKE, at soultouchedbydogs.com.